Where's the merch? Oh, we got to get some merch. Ooh, maybe a t-shirt? Yeah. You can get a sweatshirt. T-shirt.
So you want to go on the right-hand side?
Good.
One thing from the left.
That's going to be
Thank
for
you.
tomorrow. That's
Is that a seat number? Okay, thank you.
Your front, 24, Lewiston. Isabel St. Cyr, 24, Monsters. Jordon Hudson, 24, Hancock. Live from Portland, Maine, it's the Miss Maine Pageant.
We've been keeping a secret from everyone.
Which is,
We are currently recording this little special intro from a hotel in Portland, Maine.
because
We are attending
the Miss Maine pageant featuring Jordon Hudson, the 24-year-old girlfriend of former Patriots coach, current UNC head coach Bill Belichick, who's competing for the title of Miss Maine at the Holiday Inn in Portland, Maine.
I cannot believe we're here.
I can't either. We also have a little intel. I mean, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling a little nervous. Well, I was saying to Charlotte, I'm like, I feel like I'm about to see my hero in the flesh. You know, it's like it's a little too
Never
close.
meet your heroes?
Never meet your heroes.
I am terrified, to be honest.
Yeah.
First of all, we bought these tickets back in April before the CBS interview blew up, before we were on CNN talking about Bill and Jordon, before any of this.
Yep.
We bought them the day they went on sale, VIP tickets, and worried they were going to sell out. They have not.
They have not sold out.
But we were on this. We did not jump on this bandwagon when everybody else did.
No.
We've been keeping this a secret for a while.
No, we've been keeping it a secret from all of our Sports Gossip Show listeners. We're sorry we kept a secret from you, but it felt necessary for this.
Also, the reveal is worth it, right?
It's such a good reveal.
So, okay, it's like 3 hours before we're going to head over there on Saturday. Here's the intel, though, that we have to say before we go to this thing, which is that yesterday, my husband and I got here. We did a little recon because then all of us went back this morning.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we walk in. We hear the first thing we hear is the guy at the front desk say Bill Belichick, and then I couldn't hear much. And then there's a bald guy talking to him, and he says North Carolina. And so at this point, I panic, and I was like, this guy can't see my face because I'm paranoid that they're going to kick us out of this thing before we even get there. I hide behind a corner, and we hear him. My husband and I I'm like dragging him behind a corner. I'm wearing a bright yellow rain jacket. I'm not inconspicuous.
No, not at all.
And I hear him say, I'm here to make sure things go smoothly. Keep it on the DL. I hear the bald guy say that to the front desk guy. And the front desk guy is like, yes, of course.
I mean, Bill Belichick has to be attending.
And here's why. Because at first I was like, what if he's just there for Jordon, that maybe she's staying there, keep it on the DL. But everybody knows she's competing in this thing.
Yeah, that's not a surprise.
There's nothing to keep on the DL when it comes to Jordon. That could only be for Bill. Bill will 1,000% be there tonight. We are going to be in a room in VIP seating, potentially next to Bill Belichick.
I would die. I would die. We are here, I think, because we have been covering this story for months and months on end. And I think we needed to see her in the flesh and observe the Jordon Hudson, Bill Belichick universe with our own eyes.
We did. We don't know what happens tomorrow at 3 in the finals.
Nope.
I feel like she has to be in the finals. She was runner-up last year. All right, well, the next time you hear from us, in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
But for us, it'll be a day and a half.
I know.
We will have attended this thing. We're a little scared.
We hope.
They're going to kick us out.
I know, we're scared. I'm a little freaked out, but I think it'll be fine.
Are we on some,
we're not trying to
some
protest.
sort of like do not fly list?
A do not pageant list? So who knows what our recap episode will be?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
All right.
See you on the flip.
Catch you on the flip.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Madeline.
We are back.
Folks, you might have just heard that intro, and it feels like no time has passed, but it's been a good 24 hours.
Yeah, it's been maybe the most insane 24 hours of my life.
The Miss Maine pageant was... Thank God we were here.
Thank God. I think I felt like and I'm sure you feel the same way, that it wouldn't feel right for us to report and discuss this story for as long as we have since October of last year, and then not attend the Miss Maine pageant to see Jordon Hudson, Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, compete in the pageant.
No, completely. And we made these plans before the CBS interview where she famously interrupted the host and made everybody seemingly in the nation wonder what is going on in Bill Belichick's personal and professional life.
Yeah.
But we, because we knew we were going to be talking about this, the amount of time that we've invested, it just would not have felt right if we didn't see it with our own two eyes.
No, I don't think it would have done the story the fairness it deserved, honestly.
No, because that's what we're trying to do here. We are not out to, look, we're not trying to smear Jordon. We're not trying to smear Bill. We're also definitely not putting them on a pedestal. We are trying to be as measured we can about this. And I think by going to this pageant and talking to people in Maine, talking to families who are involved, whose daughters are trying to be Miss Maine, it gives so much context to the whole situation that you just can't get without being here.
No, you had to be here to see it. And we have definitely gone on a journey these past 24 hours in our feelings about the pageant and our feelings about Jordon and the pageant system, their relationship. We will get into all of it. But first things first.
Yeah, in the intro, we said, wonder if we're on a do not fly list.
Yeah.
We absolutely are.
For sure.
Jordon and Bill had a bodyguard named Chad, according to the New York Post.
Who apparently was in the Navy, which we then nicknamed him Old Navy.
Yeah, that was Bill's code name.
Yes.
Bill and Chad.
Yeah.
And he was keeping tabs on us.
He was keeping tabs on us. So yesterday, I'm already laughing about it. But obviously, we'll get to the Chad of it all. The hanging Chads.
We're going to leave you hanging with Chad.
If you know, you know.
Shit.
But first of all, we are coming to you live, obviously not from Charlotte's dining room. We are coming to you live from the Longfellow Hotel in Portland, Maine, in a lovely study, aptly named Henry's Study. My dog is named Henry, so
yes, the long,
very right.
Beautiful thing. Henry got to come see the study. The Longfellow Hotel, named after Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, a poet from New England. So
there we go.
Henry's Study.
Wow.
Not gonna quote any of his poems.
No. But thank you to the Longfellow for letting us use the space. You have a lovely hotel. Had a great experience here.
It's so beautiful. If
So
you come
fabulous.
to Maine, stay at the Longfellow.
Yeah.
It's just like an absolutely gorgeous, and also oddly similar setup.
I know.
To the one that I have that
I
we
love it.
record at normally.
It felt like a sign.
It's like we transported into like slightly more New England old school decor,
Yes.
but we're in the same place.
Yes.
But
Wearing our new vintage Maine attire.
Yeah,
And we
you
are
look
matching.
great.
Yeah, my vintage LLB.
Amazing. Shout
Shout out.
out to Open House in Portland.
Yeah.
I love Maine. I love Maine so much. Maine is my favorite place in the world. I can't say I'm from here because in Maine, if you're not born here and lived here, you're from away. And
Right.
so my family, both sides of my family have been in Maine since the 50s and the 70s. But I grew up during the year in Massachusetts, both sets of grandparents, like a bunch of my cousins all live here. And so I spent like 3 months out of the year. I went to college in Maine. I lived in Maine after college for a year. So I care so much about this place.
Yeah.
And I think that part of what I really wanted to come here for was to make sure that Maine is a medium-sized city spread out over an entire state.
Yeah.
And so there are aspects of this place that I just, if you're parachuting in, like, you kind of want to understand it.
Yeah. You got to understand the full picture.
And I've reported a bunch on like not strange, but like out of the ordinary events, like the Demolition Derby in Union, Maine, the lobster boat races down east.
Incredible.
Jordon Hancock. Jordon Hudson is from Hancock, which is down east, it's called down east because you go so far north, Maine then sort of wraps around that you start going down, you start going south again.
Wow.
So some
Crazy.
fun Maine facts. So
Wow.
care about this place a lot. And I think that combined with some of your experiences,
Yeah.
it felt like this was a good thing for us to come report on.
Yeah, I was a teen model, and there's a lot of parallels with the pageant world and the modeling world, because a lot of young girls are kind of scouted or recruited into doing modeling or being in pageants, and I think for a lot of people, there are a lot of opportunities that can come from using your looks to get you somewhere, which, I think is a thing. But yeah, I think there's so many parallels, and I think being there and witnessing it, like even the hosts, which we'll get into, I was like, these remind me of people from modeling who were like, you're going to be a star. Like it reminded me so much of modeling.
It's also, look, if this is a system that we're trapped in, like the patriarchy and women, it matters what you look like way more if you're a woman than if you're a man. Everybody knows that. There are these sort of organizations that you can have weird feelings about, but also can be tools for people to use to their personal advantage in ways that end up being great. So I think
complicated.
I think the moral of this entire situation, the Jordon and Bill thing, pageants, all of it, is that multiple things can be true at once.
Correct.
It's not
black and white.
No.
It's complicated.
All right.
Well, let's get into it.
There's been some news recently that people have been DMing us about, which I don't really have much to say about the UNC thing. There was news that broke that Jordon was banned from UNC, then UNC said she wasn't.
Yeah.
And so as of right now, she's not. Maybe they wanted to. I don't really...
We don't know. We don't know what the truth is there. We saw everyone's messages, but as of right now, she's not banned. So
I also, just logistically real quick.
Yeah.
Bill and Jordon are not breaking up.
No.
Bill Belichick, spoiler alert, was at this pageant both days.
Both days.
They're not breaking up. They're very much together. So even if you wanted to ban Jordon from the facilities and you said she can't have anything to do with UNC, how are you going to stop the girlfriend of the highest paid public person in North Carolina from entering that building?
Yeah.
What are you going to have security?
Right. No.
Just a lot of questions about
logistically it just wouldn't even make sense. And optics wise, you think the university wants to make their head coach unhappy? He's probably already not that happy with everything that's been going on, I would imagine.
He didn't look that happy.
He looked very serious. He looked very Bill Belichick in that room, in that suit, which we'll get to.
Okay. All right. So we get there after we recorded our intro yesterday. It was a Celtics-Knicks game. The Celtics were just destroying the Knicks, and I was so antsy about going to this thing. And because I've been a reporter, and when I used to do features of like parachuting into a place, I would get so neurotic about like, I have to spend as much time there as I can. I need to make sure I'm seeing everything, talking to people. So I just went to the Holiday Inn. Yeah. Just strolled on over.
Charlotte did a little hot girl walk over to the Holiday Inn.
Sat down at the bar. Immediately, this woman named Terry, who's drinking a Bloody Mary and eating a quesadilla, she looks over at me, she goes, look at me eating a quesadilla. And I was like, look at you, Terry. And I was like, this woman wants to talk.
Oh, for sure.
And I was like, are you here for the pageant? She said, yeah, I have some friends in it. And I said, who? She said, Jordon. And I was like, is this too good to be true?
Yeah, because then you're like, wait, is this a plant? What is this?
Well, because what I forgot to mention is there were probably 5 to 10 Daily Mail, paparazzi, TMZ guys sitting in a row around this like giant column with their computers plugged in, just waiting for any sight of Jordon or Bill.
Yep.
And this woman was like, she was like, I'm friends with Jordon. She's a good kid with a big heart. Everyone's being so hard on her. She just loves Bill, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't you protect the person you love in an interview if they don't want to talk about their personal lives, and how nice Jordon was? And there were a lot of quotes that came out in the Daily Mail and the New York Post that sounded almost exactly like that.
Interesting.
Which, look, I do want the perspective of someone who likes Jordon, because I don't know if there's anyone in the world that everybody hates.
Right. No.
But it was a little suspicious.
It's a little odd.
That this one woman was going around who said she was friends with the owners of the organization, telling everyone how kind Jordon was.
Yeah, and just giving up that information so quickly.
I sit down immediately.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know whether she was a plant or not, but it is weird to be that forthcoming, especially about knowing Jordon, who's their most high-profile contestant.
Absolutely.
To just like let that out immediately is certainly a choice.
Also, especially because people in Maine are very much like live and let live.
Right.
It's like you sit down at a bar, like this is deep New England.
Right.
People don't love talking to other people. It's not like, the South where someone's like, oh, hey, welcome. It's like, you do your thing, I'll do mine.
Yes.
I'm not going to worry about your life.
Yeah.
And there were very few other people who were as willing to talk, who were even willing. You know, we talked to some people, but it was like no one's going out of their way like Terry was.
No. We tried that woman after the pageant. We'll get to this later, but I tried to like get this woman to talk to me, just compliment her glasses. She was just like drinking her Pinot Grigio.
You were like,
she
I
was
like your
nope.
glasses.
And I was like, that'll be the end.
She goes, thank you. And then turns away. And I was like, welcome to Maine. It's a beautiful place.
All right. Yeah. So Terry, our girl. So flash forward, we go to the pageant. Charlotte and I were very nervous. Because we're like, are they going to kick us out? Are they not even going to let us in? Are we on this list? We'll get to the list later. But we get in line, and the line is like almost out the door of the Holiday Inn.
Yes. And mostly it looks like friends and family.
Yeah.
You know, it's people dressed up. I'd say the vibe was sort of as if, you know, like business casual, like you were going to an event for your kid or someone you know.
Yes. It reminded me of what you wear to your kid's graduation.
Bingo.
That was the attire vibe.
Exactly. That was
graduation.
And like when we say we don't know if we were on a list, like we've been talking about this a lot. Obviously, we went on CNN to talk about this. We think Jordon, knowing how invested she is in the her against the world media narrative, which we will get into, it seems like she would know the main people who are talking about her. It's not like we think we're a big deal and special and that of course everybody knows who we are. We think that she probably is keeping tabs.
I mean, she's 24. She's definitely on TikTok.
So
our clips,
not
people come to us more than anything to say we saw you on TikTok. So do with that information what you will.
Wow, you never thought this boomer would be a TikTok star, did you?
Okay, watch out.
Couldn't figure out how to open a file on my computer earlier.
I know, but anyway, we got there.
Yeah.
So we're in line. We're inching closer and closer. Charlotte and I are very nervous. But somehow they tear our tickets, let us in, and we enter the ballroom at the Holiday Inn. What were you expecting before you walked in the room?
I was expecting a much smaller room. I was expecting round tables for some reason, which was really stressing me out because I was like, you kind of have to talk to people then. But we walked in. What were you expecting?
I was expecting a smaller room. I wasn't expecting round tables, but I was expecting a smaller room that felt a little bit more packed with not a ton of people, but packed in a smaller space.
Yeah.
And I was worried we were going to be like front row. Because by the way, we bought premium tickets. Because we were worried, we were like, I don't know, what if we're like in the back? Which thank God we did buy those tickets. But we were like, wait, what if this is a really tiny room? And then we're like face to face with Jordon.
We're like sitting on stage with Jordon.
Our Mount Everest of sports gossip.
Totally. No, I think we were both expecting, I was expecting a lower ceiling.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big cavernous room.
It was big.
Big chandeliers hanging from the ceiling.
Yep.
And I will say that the Miss Maine organization, they had like a huge LED screen in the back. Yep. They had sort of star-studded black panels.
Yep.
There was a ton of music. It felt like a daycare club. It felt like a club for kids.
Yes, they were playing like Chapel Roan remixes without any cursing in it, you know. And you're like, they were playing like they had Sabrina Carpenter, Benson Boone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stay.
That damn song. He's going to do a flip on the stage in that Holiday Inn.
You know, I did go down a Benson Boone rabbit hole recently.
Oh, no.
He's actually, I was like, this guy's pretty talented. Did you see him play Queen at Coachella?
No, I don't.
Girl, no. I had this, trust me, I was a skeptic. I was like, he is our generation's Imagine Dragons. Actually an incredible performer.
Okay, well, good for him. That's awesome.
So, right.
I love that for him.
There were also, at the pageant, there were also lights.
Yes, there were lights. Lots of lights.
Spotlights, sort of.
I think the funniest thing, so we go in this big conference. It's like a convention center hall. Not that big, but it was big.
The Grand Ballroom of Portland.
Yes. There was so much empty space between where the chairs started and where the pageant was. Like, there was just so much empty space that I was like, wait, what are we walking into? Like, what is going to happen in here? But they had like a full tech build out, to your point. Like cameramen, like 2 cameramen, a photographer. I mean, it was legit.
Totally. And that sort of is like the Maine is a medium-sized city point that I'm trying to make. It's not that this is like a rinky-dink operation. It's that there just aren't as many people trying to compete or going to this thing because there just aren't as many people here.
No.
Like, so you did walk in, it felt like a fisheye lens.
Yes.
Where it was like you were a little too far away from the chairs.
Yes, that is accurate. Yes.
So we sit down, and the first thing they say is no photos, no videos, but there's a media package you can buy.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because these families have already put a lot of money into their kids competing.
It's expensive.
And you're telling a mom on the Mother's Day weekend she can't take a picture on her iPhone when her daughter comes on stage?
Please. I mean, here's the thing. No one listened to the rules. The moms were out with the phones.
Everyone was like, okay.
I mean, come on. But it did remind me of like at Disney when you ride Splash Mountain or something, and then you have to pay for your photo at the end, and everyone's just taking the photo of the screen.
Yes.
That's what it was like.
Exactly.
Everyone's like, we're not buying the media package.
We also cannot state to you enough how funny the hosts of this entire event were.
Oh my God.
I am obsessed with them.
It was exactly like the hosts in Miss Congeniality, like to a T.
Candice Bergen and I'm forgetting the other guy's name.
William Shatner.
William Shatner. Like, it might as well have been them standing up there.
If I had closed my eyes, I would have been like, this is them speaking from the movie.
Same stage presence. They both did an unbelievable job. It was Sal Malafronte, master stylist and artistic director at Salon Mario Russo in Boston. Great salon. And Jen Turner, who was a former Miss Massachusetts, because the Clemente organization that puts on Miss Maine also puts on Miss Massachusetts.
Yeah. It was their comedic banter was just exactly like the movie and kind of was always a little off, and Sal was just poking fun at Jen in a way that you could tell she was a little annoyed. The jokes like didn't land and the crowd was like, what is happening?
Sal was so mean to Jen. I know. Sal was like, yeah, well, we took a little time off and it's been a year, and Jen took some time away for her facelift. Haha. And Jen was like, what?
And the crowd was just silent.
And then Jen was like, the buttons on your pants are going to be doing a lot of extra hard work.
Yes.
Just like completely razzing each other.
It was insane. It felt like I truly was like in a movie. It felt like a movie.
Yeah, loved it.
They perfectly nailed that. So we sit down in our assigned seats. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting there and we're just kind of like, oh my God, are they going to like kick us out? Like we made it in. So like so far so good.
We're buzzing.
Charlotte and I are like on edge.
The hands shaking, like sweating, but you're cold.
Yeah. Our husbands are like, relax. You guys need to chill out. You're in a Holiday Inn ballroom right now.
We did bring our husbands with us.
We did, which I think was a good thing, which we'll get to later.
They were also very helpful. They've been our producers and social media behind the scenes captures all weekend.
Shout out to Tyler and Cutter. Thank you so
guys.
much.
Yeah, they also drove us here.
They drive us here.
We were
passenger princesses.
Little passenger princesses.
Okay, so we sit down. Bill's not there yet.
No.
And we're like, all right, it's like 5 minutes out. Is Bill coming?
And we'd seen reports, because I had those paparazzi in the lobby that I saw, that they had captured pictures of Bill. So we were like, all right, I guess he's here, but is he already sitting somewhere? Is he in the back?
Right.
No.
Nope.
Chad, our bald security guard friend, the door opened. So we're sitting on the left side of the room. There's an emergency exit. The door opens. Chad pops out. Madeline and I start grabbing each other. Bill Belichick, 8-time Super Bowl winner, and the current head coach of UNC, which, when you think about it, is the fact that he was at the Miss Maine and Miss Maine teen pageant
in a Holiday Inn.
The head coach of North Carolina.
One of the most important figures in modern day sports history is in a suit walking into the ballroom at a Holiday Inn to watch his 24-year-old girlfriend compete for the title of Miss Maine.
I would say...
I mean...
And
you can't write it.
What I love about Maine so much is that you would think in a state that rabid Patriots fans, huge sports fans, love the Patriots. Bill won 6 championships for those of us who were lucky enough to root for New England. You'd think that there would be sort of a hubbub in the room. Maybe like 3 people took pictures.
Yeah,
there
not
wasn't
that many.
even the
no
hush come over a crowd. Nobody gave a shit that Bill Belichick had just lumbered into the room, walked across the entire front of the stage.
He didn't go like a back route. Everyone could see him.
Which I'm like, Chad, what were you doing?
What were you doing?
There was a door literally next. He walked out of a door, walked across the entire room, and sat on the far end of the first row, on
which
the right.
also has a door. So why didn't they go that way? I don't know.
Anyway.
But it was great for us. So then we're like, oh my God, Bill's here for the prelims. Can't believe it.
No.
And then we're like, wait, what is about to happen?
We have no idea. There's a program, which we have right here in front of us if you're watching, but we don't know what's about to happen.
No.
So the lights go down, and it starts right at 7.
Right at 7.
Lights go down, music comes on, the Miss Teens and the Miss Maine contestants strut on out.
Yep.
And there's Jordon Hudson.
And Charlotte and I are grabbing each other's hands.
What did it feel like to you?
It felt like I was seeing the president of the United States in front of me, or somewhat like Beyonce. Yeah, I was just like, I felt like what really was, I said this earlier, like our Mount Everest moment. And I'm like, if I was someone who climbed Mount Everest and you get to that, I'd be like, I can't believe I'm here. That's what it felt like. So many emotions. I was in shock, in awe. I was giddy. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't believe it. I just was flashing back to October when we first started talking about the story, being like, if you had told me in October that one day we would drive to Maine to go watch Jordon Hudson compete in a pageant that Bill Belichick is attending, I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yes.
You're crazy.
It felt also like it was like walking into Instagram. It was like, it was like taking acid and walking into the New York Post, into page 6. Because I was like, how are we like, also, I think this is a very important thing. I think if you are talking about someone a lot, you should be required to be in a room with them.
Yes.
Because it makes you think, am I being fair to this person?
Right.
Because no matter who the person is that you're talking about, no matter how critical you are of them, when you see someone who is a human in front of you, which is partly why our politics are so completely screwed up, because people in Washington are like, but I like that guy. And it's like, well, he wants to take away voting rights. And you're like, yeah, but it's Bob. Like the humanization can be kind of dangerous when you're trying to be critical. But it also does make you think, am I being fair to this person? And I felt really good being in that room with Jordon Hudson. Me too.
It felt like it was the right thing for us to do, to tell this story as accurately and as fairly as possible.
Totally. And I wasn't, I didn't feel sheepish or like, oh God, we've said stuff that I wouldn't say to her face. I think everything that we have said on this show is something that I would feel comfortable saying to her, because I feel like we've done a really good job trying to follow the patterns of it without just being cruel for no reason.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we're not here.
Not to brag, but like that.
No, it's true.
It was a big test. I was like, am I going to feel like squeamish being in this room with her?
No, I didn't. If she had come up to us, I would have been fine with it.
Same.
I wouldn't have felt weird about anything we said. I think we've done a really thoughtful job, not to toot our own horns, of covering the story and not making it feel like it's a sensationalized thing. It's about their age gap, as we've talked about 1,000 times. It's not about the age gap. It's about the power dynamics at play here.
Which you said last week on CNN, and which I wrote a Substack about.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time. But I just think it would have been a disservice to our listeners. And I think everyone who's been following this story through our perspective for so long, for us to not go, to not show face, honestly.
And I think that too, when the pageant starts, so they come out, I think it's Miss Teen, and Miss Teen does activewear, not bathing suits.
Yeah.
So they come out in like, Lululemon sets or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Miss Maine contestants come out in swimsuits. Mm-hmm. And I think that there was you very quickly realize, because I think, look, I'd never been to a pageant before. No. Before the pageant, I was, Terry, my friend at the bar, had been like,
your gal.
One of the things she said, I forgot to say this, people have been talking about how Jordan's not living in Maine. She grew up here till she was 9, then moved to Cape Cod. But there are a lot of people in these state pageants that funnel into Miss USA that aren't from their state or don't currently live there but have an address. So that actually isn't quite as unusual, even though I think that the majority of the women competing were from Maine.
Yeah.
But before, Terry had been like, there's a lot of skill it takes to do this. And I was like, what is it? And she was like, oh my God, you have to have the confidence to get up there, to walk. And at the time I was like, okay, but you're just like wearing a dress. When you see the contestants doing this, they are on a stage by themselves in a bikini.
Yeah.
The self-confidence you have to have, the poise, the ability to hold yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I started to understand how there is real skill that goes into this.
Oh yeah, and it's so impressive and I mean brave, honestly, to get up there. And it's like, again, we were saying this, like, because it's in this room that's not like jam packed with thousands of people. You know, at points it's a little quiet, so there would be someone walking the stage. They would get the applause when they come out, and then they're kind of posing, but they're posing for quite a while. And at points it was quiet, and for them to be able to still remain confident and poised throughout that entire process is so impressive. And I could never do it.
No,
and I modeled,
and you did it,
and I did it. So I do understand to a degree what that's like walking in runway shows, where it's like you can tell when girls are really good at it and when someone gets up there and they are not confident. I mean, Tyra, like, you know, you got shoulders back, like if you look a little hunched over or look a little afraid, you can tell, and it looks really out of place. So for the girls to get up there and be able to like hold the confidence through the entire time they're on stage is so impressive.
And you're standing there while other people walk.
Yeah, and you're watching them.
You just have to be okay standing there presenting yourself.
Yeah.
Did you feel when you would model, like, was there a mode you would sort of snap into?
Yeah, definitely. I would like definitely kind of just like tunnel vision, ignoring everything that's happening around me, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, because if you don't do that, then you get too in your head about it.
And would you practice?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I had like a runway coach who reminded me of the host. He reminded me of the host of the pageant.
Jen or Sal?
Sal. Oh, yeah. No. Just kind of like, you're going to be a star, kid, you know, and walk back and forth. He would make me like run in high heels. It was a whole thing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that practice that's gone into this when these women come out, because they have their turns choreographed, the way that they're posing. And it was interesting because you could kind of tell I think there's a big overlap between the cheerleading world and the pageant world,
yes,
which Jordon was a part of. I think there's also a big connection from the dance world to the pageant. There was a woman sitting in front of us who we talked to, and it's also, you get so invested. Like we completely lost ourselves.
We were invested.
We were like, all right, it's going to be Miss Teen's going to be Miss Seacoast, runner-up's going to be Bangor. Not to brag, we were right.
We were right.
But the woman in front of us who was there for Miss Seacoast, this woman named Jasmine, girl named Jasmine, she's 16, I think, she was a family friend of Jasmine's family, and she'd brought her 3 little girls because they dance at the same studio that Jasmine dances at, and they're all like very serious dancers. They drive an hour and 45 minutes to get from their house in Maine to Salem, Massachusetts, where they practice.
Wow.
And they idolized Jasmine.
Yeah.
And the way that she was walking, you could see she had like real dancers.
Oh no, she
training.
totally did. No, there's so much training that goes into it, and not to get all sociological on you.
Yeah, please.
But there's a term coined by this woman, I believe she coined it, I could be wrong, named Ashley Mears. She's a sociologist, and it's called aesthetic labor. And it's basically the work when you perform a job like being a model, for example, or a beauty queen, where the bulk of the work that you're doing is about how you look and your appearance and how you present yourself, and that if you are not doing that part of your job correctly, like, you're not going to get booked on castings, you're not going to win beauty pageants. And like so much of the work that they're doing is this like aesthetic labor that they're performing on the stage of a Holiday Inn, which is wild. Like their success or failure is determined by how well they present themselves.
That's thank you for that's
got to use my degree for something.
It's amazing though, because
it's true,
because you can see what it requires, and I think that's something too. I want to make it very clear how seriously we ended up taking this.
Yeah,
and I will also be the first to admit I do think it is. I think that there's the way that these women compete in it, and it's very impressive. I also think the idea that we are judging women on them being in evening gowns and swimwear is also still strange.
It's very strange. Yeah.
Those two things are, and it doesn't mean that it's bad if you do it.
Right.
It just means that, I was sort of like, I would like to hear all of them talk, or and so we heard 5 of them speak, which we'll get to.
Including Jordon.
But yeah, just a very interesting, I feel like we were like basically talking to each other, writing a thesis.
No, we were, because I think we went in with like fascination and curiosity, and by the end of that first day of competition, I was like, oh, these women are talented and skilled and have put in the work for this, and they take it very seriously, and everyone watching also takes it very seriously.
Totally. They had Miss Maine who's the 2024, Ann Baldridge, and Abby Hafer, who was the Miss Teen, and you could tell how good they had gotten. at speaking, at presenting themselves over the course of a year.
Yeah.
And it was just a very cool, I don't know. I felt like very tenderly towards
By the end of that day, I
people.
was moved. I was moved by the end of the first day.
Same,
I really
same.
was. It was like Jordon, by the end of the first day, was a little bit of an afterthought, honestly, because of just kind of all of these other conclusions and aha moments we discovered watching all these other contestants compete and talking to their families.
Totally. No, we were really invested. We were like, I think this, anyway.
Yeah.
Which is a great, so the end of that night, by the end of night one, how were you feeling about Jordon?
I was feeling like she was misunderstood and that she was doing a good job. And I felt like, I was like, oh, wow, okay. She commanded that stage. She looked like a professional up there. I mean, truly, like, no matter what you feel about her, like, she was damn good at that.
She was very, very good at that. She was confident. She was, she has like the X factor. She has it. I could have watched her walk on stage for hours.
Hours. Even when she was walking off the stage, which I don't even know if anyone watched the live stream, if you could see this in the shot, she was making eye contact with the judges until the split second that she is not on the stage.
She had everything down to a T, and she stuck the landing.
Yeah, she did.
And I think by the end of it, I was sort of like, almost like over empathizing with her.
Yeah, it was some mixed feelings.
Because I was like, oh man, you can say a lot of things about her, and we have a lot of questions about the way she's conducted herself, but she clearly cares about this so much.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of guts, regardless of how you feel about her, for her to risk not winning this thing.
Yeah.
Which she didn't.
Nope.
And we will get to. So I think both of us were like, she is incredibly good at this.
She's very good at it. And it made sense why she got runner-up last year.
Yes.
So,
however, day two.
well, before we get to day two.
Oh,
pageant ends.
Sorry.
That whole event that we've just spent a lot of time talking about was only 45 minutes. They were like, by the end of it, we were all looking at each other like, wait, that's it for the day? We're like, there's no, like, we thought like they announced the semifinalists that night, like they do the voting. No, just see you tomorrow.
Just, all right. They did a swimsuit walk and then a evening gown walk.
Yep.
And Sal and Jen bantered a little bit, and then they were like, all right, see you tomorrow. And we were like, well, what is tomorrow?
What's tomorrow? We had no idea.
Given how short that first day was, we were like, tomorrow is probably like 15. They probably just announced the winner.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't just 15 minutes, which we'll get to. So the pageant ends. They make an announcement. Family and friends can stay for 15 minutes, and then all of the contestants are going to a pizza and pajama party. Afterwards, press leave the room. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought that was a joke, but it was true.
No, it was true.
They had a pizza and pajama party.
We'll get to that. So Bill immediately gets up.
Yes, the minute it's over, he and Chad, his security guy,
Old Navy, our guy.
Oh my God, we're definitely on some like a bigger list now. He gets up, walks across again the whole stage, and exits the door that he came in.
Yep.
We leave because we were like, we want to honor, give these people a chance to just be with their families, blah, 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 whatever. Jordon wasn't there anyway. It seemed like they kept a very, very sequestered experience.
Yes.
So we leave, and, we wanted to talk to more people and get a sense of how people felt about this. So we went to the bar. We went to Port of Call.
In the Holiday Inn. And Charlotte and I ordered Shirley Temples. Which felt appropriate.
I was going to say, we were at a Miss Teen pageant.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get hammered.
No.
Also, neither of us really drink.
No.
Because,
all right. No. So anyways, we're in there and we're just kind of lingering. Well, we ordered a drink. We weren't loitering.
No, we were hanging out. We were looking around.
Observing.
It was very empty at first because all the people were talking to each other in the room. But then as the contestants clearly had to go to their pizza party, their families started to come in.
So the families start coming in, and we're like, oh, should we talk to someone? Should we not? Ultimately, that was when I made the comment to the lady about the glasses who wasn't having it. So we didn't end up talking to anyone in the room. Maybe like 10 or 15 minutes pass, and one of the people who runs the Clemente organization comes in, and he's just like looking a little weird, looking a little sus.
He was holding like a plastic cup of water, and he walked in, and he sort of looks around, and he looks at us for a second, and then he looks around, and then he leaves.
Yeah, then he leaves. And then we're all kind of like, all right, we should go. We gotta go get some sleep and eat some food. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So as we're leaving Port of Call, who walks in but Chad?
And he looks at us.
Yeah.
And we are literally, our shoulders brush.
Yeah.
And I was like, wonder why Bill's bodyguard is going in there.
Yeah.
So we walk out. We're in the lobby. Chad comes back out. So we move a little bit further towards the door.
Like to leave the Holiday Inn.
But we're standing there trying to figure out where we should go have dinner. And Tyler, my husband, had like gone to throw something out, and he comes back and he was like, the guy is looking at us over my shoulder. And I look over and he's standing like maybe 20 feet away staring at us. And I was like, oh my God. So we had sort of been talking about Jordon at that point, and then he starts walking closer, and Madeline just looks at me and goes, where should we go for dinner?
I was like, what else am I going to say?
And I'm like, oh, he's right there. And then he circles us, and then he goes and stands 5 feet away from us.
5 feet away.
Pretending to be on his phone.
Yeah. So we are for sure on the list.
Absolutely.
There's no way we're not. No way we're not. And by the way, for the record, at no point during this entire weekend did we ever speak to Jordon. We never went up to her family. Nothing. Didn't go up to
we
Bill.
We couldn't have.
No.
They were. Chad was guarding them.
He was guarding them, and also like, what are we going to say? Like, what do I have to say to him?
Right.
Honestly,
right.
Or her. And so we're like, oh my God, we're on a list. Like this man also, Chad, my guy, do a better job of your recon work.
Dude,
make it a little less obvious that you keep trying to come over to us.
Also, the fact that the first thing I hear when I walked into the Holiday Inn on Friday was Chad tell the front desk guy, hey, Bill Belichick's coming, in a full-on normal sounding voice. Bill's coming. I'm here to make sure it goes smoothly. Keep it on the DL. It's truly like Mr. Magoo. It's like a the whole thing was kind of a movie. It's like Candace Bergen.
Yes.
It was like, you know how Sandra Bullock.
The son.
Yes.
It was the son. Like, he was the son.
It was like Congeniality. It was like the son who can't really figure out how to do anything.
Oh, he totally was.
Like, I'm sorry, if you're a security guard who is trying to not make it known that your client is there, don't say to the local front desk guy at a normal speaking volume, keep it on the down low.
Well, as we said, he was in the Navy. We don't know if he was a Navy SEAL.
We don't know.
We don't know the deal with Chad.
If anyone knows Chad's last name, I've been trying to Google him.
Let us know if you know Chad. Oh my God, I would die. Let's get Chad on the pod. So that was just funny. So it kind of, I mean, again, we don't know 100% if we're on an actual list, but he definitely was there to suss us out. Which, for the record, we weren't going to bother them anyway.
No.
But like, it's just funny.
He was waiting for us to leave.
For sure.
So
for sure.
We left. Had a lovely dinner. Great lobster roll, blah, blah, blah. All right. Day 2.
Yep.
Today.
I'm thinking.
Was that today?
That was today.
That
Somehow
feels like
that
it was a
today.
week ago.
Somehow that was only a couple hours ago.
Okay.
I'm thinking again, based on yesterday's preliminary competition only being 45 minutes, that today was going to be like 15 minutes and they're just going to announce winners and send you on your way.
Same. So we walk in a little less nervous than yesterday.
Yeah, still like, okay, well, this guy Chad is on us. He's going to be on us even more today. Spoiler alert, he wasn't.
Yeah, he didn't care about us today.
No.
But the room was buzzing. People were excited. We sit down. We were like, is Bill going to be here? Because it was getting closer to the start time.
Yeah.
Sure enough, the door opens. Chad comes out leading once again.
My guy.
The head coach of UNC.
And he does the same walk across the entire room. They didn't learn their lesson from yesterday. He does the whole walk across the room to the same seat on the other side of the room.
Because we were like, maybe they'll come out the door literally next to his seat this time.
No. Come on, Chad. Come on.
Once again, the show starts. All of the ladies come out. They do the same dance.
Same dance.
Loved it.
And I think they were all wearing the same outfit for the most part, I believe.
They were.
Yeah.
They all had gold dresses on for the opening
Short
number.
dresses, yeah.
Yep. And this is when we talked to the woman whose daughter and her friends were there because they love Jasmine, who they go to the same dance studio with. And I said, is this something, do people care that Jordon is here? Is this something that the families are thinking about? And she was like, no. She was like, if that's what she wants to do, great.
Right.
Like, none of us are really... She did say, she was like, it is crazy, though, that this is happening in Maine.
Yeah.
She was like, of all places, like, this is just the Miss Maine pageant.
Right.
And like all of this hullabaloo, because there were reporters from the New York Times, Washington Post, that like all these sports writers had shown up.
Yep.
And she was just like, yeah, we just really want Jasmine to win Miss Teen.
People were just there for their kid.
Yeah.
To cheer on their kid. Or their friend's kid. Like it was, I think it felt like in the room, like it's not like when Jordon came on the stage, she was getting significantly more applause or less applause than anyone else. It was just the same as anyone else was walking across the stage.
There was no, which is so great. It's also just so funny because, we're there, national media's there, told, and everybody at the pageant is like, all right.
I know.
Great.
I know. So the pageant starts, they do their dance, and then different from yesterday, they intersperse the pageant with these awards and video content and voiceover from the current Miss Teen Maine and Miss Maine USA, whatever the name of it is, which was different.
And Anne Baldridge, the former Miss Maine, said something that was very interesting to me. She said, "This opened doors and catapulted my career."
Yeah.
And this is when I think something that we'd been wondering leading up to the pageant and yesterday a little bit was, okay, if these are women from Maine, or even not from Maine, but people who live here, who care about their community, who need this as a platform.
Yeah.
Ethically, should Jordon even be competing to take one of their spots?
Yeah.
And at the end of last night, we were sort of like, well, she's very good at this. Like, it would also be sort of a shame if she didn't win because... I'm not ashamed. I don't know.
Because of the press or the chatter around her. But then you think about it, and then you're like, okay, Jordon is dating one of the most famous people in sports, and she now has access to a bunch of celebrities, hairstylists, styling team, glam squad, all these people that she probably wouldn't have had access to before. She also has created generational wealth for herself, as we've discussed, her $8 million real estate portfolio that started when she started dating Bill Belichick. So it's like, she is fine financially.
Yeah. And and even like notoriety wise.
Right.
Like
famous.
She might be the star of a reality show.
Yeah.
And you know what? Honestly, she would be a very fascinating watch.
She would be fascinating.
You don't have to like the person that you're watching reality TV about. In fact, it's probably better that you don't.
Yeah, right.
But you have to admit she's compelling. Look at everybody talking about her.
Yeah.
And when you see her on stage, you understand she I don't know that this hubbub would be the same if it were anybody different.
No. As you might have noticed, we just had to take a little pause because the sun was just like hitting my face. Again, we're not in Charlotte's living room, so we had to scoot over.
Yeah, we didn't know the light patterns of Henry's study.
So, anyways,
sorry.
Here we are. We're back.
Okay. So when Anne Baldridge said it opened doors and catapulted my career, that's when I was like, it would be a real shame if someone who needed this didn't get it, because they told us what the prize was.
Right. The prize was beauty treatments, dental treatments, photo shoots, I think a trip to Hollywood maybe or something.
To help competing in the Miss USA pageant.
Right.
Like basically resources you need.
Yeah.
They said, we'll give you a leg up in the world of modeling.
Right.
Like they have all these connections that they help you with.
Yes.
And this is before we've seen Jordon today.
Yeah.
We saw her do her little dance, but both of us start to be like, feel a little weird about the fact that someone with so many resources could be competing when other people need these more.
Yeah.
So another interesting thing about Anne Baldridge, we're looking at her Instagram, and she had posted, her grandmother had passed away, who she said was her mother figure, and she talked about her again today. I noticed that Linda Holliday, Bill Belichick's ex-girlfriend, who he was with for 15 years before he dumped her in 2023 and officially started dating Jordon, even though he met Jordon in 2021. Linda had commented on Anne Baldridge's post and said, "I'm so sorry, Anne. I'm so sorry for your loss," something along those lines. She also follows the Miss Maine pageant.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Linda probably had a connection to this world before Bill was dating Jordon.
She must have.
Just an interesting thing to
put
out there.
Well, anyways, so back to the pageant. The Miss Maine site crashed, which they announced as they're about to hand out awards.
And he says, in the 20 years I've been doing this has never happened.
Was this because people were watching the live stream of Jordon Hudson competing? I mean, I don't know. The Today Show wrote about it, so where to watch it?
How to watch the Miss Maine pageant?
It was like when news outlets write like how to watch the Oscars,
Truly.
which is crazy. It's crazy.
To quote Belinda in the ballroom, she was like, "It's just wild that this is happening in Maine.
It's crazy. It's crazy." So website crashes, but they needed to hand out the People's Choice Award, which you had to vote on their website. And they ended up handing it out to one teen who won by a landslide. She was lovely. We loved her. And then for the 2 top Miss contestants, they just gave it to both of them because they basically couldn't figure it out. They couldn't check the website about who won, which I love.
So good.
I love.
It is sort of funny that here are these. I have to commend everybody who did compete in the pageant this year because they were doing so with a national lens. A bunch of people were watching on a live stream. Yeah. And these people putting themselves out there and walking in this show, and they kept their composure. Yeah. And they did such a great job, even though they knew, regardless of whether family members were giving it any weight, they knew that potentially millions of people were watching this because of the interest in the Jordon and Bill story.
Totally. Yeah.
And they did an amazing job. And I just think they deserve a lot of credit for how cool they remained in the face 100%. Of such weird coverage.
Yeah. A lot of weird circumstances. Yeah. So they hand out these awards. Jordon wins an award. She wins Best Style.
She does.
And in my mind, again, I don't come from the pageant world, but I'm thinking, oh my God, I think this means Jordon doesn't win, because that was not a fan voted People's Choice-esque voting. That was just the judges, I believe, voting.
Yes. We were both like, this is not a good sign for her.
Not a great sign.
Because it felt like a consolation prize.
It did. Whether it was or not, we obviously don't know, but it felt that way because I don't think anyone who got one of those awards won.
They didn't. It also felt like hey, we are going to acknowledge that you are very good at this. Yeah. But you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Which we are watching Jordon on day 2, everything kind of shifted.
It shifted. So Jordon does make it to the top 5, which at that point is the question round, which to me, I was like, oh my God, it's Miss Congeniality.
They also gave out an award called Congeniality.
Miss Congeniality, which I was like,
we were like, also, that was my favorite movie as a teen. I watched it
good
on repeat.
So good.
Anyway.
So they all have to draw a question at random from this box, and Jordon is the person to go first.
And when they announced the top 5, there was this massive pause because they were like, they had a 4-way tie.
Yeah.
And to get down to the top 5 contestants, the first name they announced of the top 5 was Jordon's. So we knew immediately she was in. We were going to hear her speak.
Yeah. And she speaks. So she gets up there, and we are going to play the audio of what happened.
Right over here. There we go. How are you doing?
I'm feeling an immense amount of pride right now. I'm hoping that anybody who's watching this finds the strength to push through whatever it is that they're going through and embodies that hate never wins.
Thank you, Jordan. Good question. No? Okay, you ready? Okay, here we go. If you could relive one moment in your life, what would it be and why?
I would go back to the days where I was on my family's fishing boat in Hancock, Maine, and I think about this really often because there's a mass exodus of fishermen that's occurring in the rural areas of Maine, and I don't want to see more fishermen displaced. As your next Miss Maine USA, I would make it a point to go into the communities, to go to the legislature, to go into the government and advocate for these people so that they don't have to think about these memories as a past moment. Thank you.
Wow. When she said that, I felt like everything shifted.
Everything shifted, and I remembered why we have dissected the way she talks as much as we have, because what it comes down to is Jordon Hudson is not good at PR.
No.
I feel an immense amount of pride. I thought she was going to say gratitude. Like, at these things, whether it's good or not, whether it's how women should have to be or not, you put the focus on other people.
Yes.
She said, I feel a tremendous amount of pride because she's going through a hard time.
Yes.
Immediately, she made the story about herself again. She turned the lens back on herself. She made it inward looking.
Yep. I mean, before she even answered the question, she essentially, first of all, that was the first time we have heard her speak or say anything since the CBS interview and her posting that weird Instagram post with the email from Bill swiping to the camera roll screenshot of presumably secretly recorded video from the CBS interview that she tagged CBS in. So for her to get up there and the first thing she says is, for anyone out there watching, there's no place for hate or whatever she says. Like that, she was like making a PR statement.
She spoke to the live stream. She did not speak to the people of Maine. She didn't speak to the people in that room. She didn't speak to her fellow contestants or the judge. That was a defiant, once again, Jordon against the media.
Yeah.
I am being painted in this bad light. She is not doing herself any favors.
No, I don't. I in that moment, the minute she said the little spiel before even the question, I was like, oh.
Same. I was like, she does not present with a generous spirit.
No,
is how I would put it. She also, Sal, the host, held the mic towards her, and at one point maybe got it like a little too close, and she made this like very weird face at him, like, and it was just the body language of the whole thing. I have to say, her thing about the fishermen. Look, yes, the fishing industry in Maine is under a ton of stress for many different reasons. There are regulations that have to do with the right whales and the fishing equipment, whether or not it is responsible for right whales dying, which means that they have implemented new measures that fishermen don't think are fit with. Like, it is a very complex issue. It's also climate change.
Yeah.
Climate change is affecting the way that people fish, whether you like it or not. That is a fact. Jordon, she advocated for a candidate who is running for the Maine House of Representatives, who is an election denier, whose feed was riddled with conspiracy theories. She has also posted pictures with Susan Collins, a Republican of Maine, who has done a whole lot to harm Maine and the people who live here. Whether you, whatever side of the aisle you are, look at Susan Collins' voting record on jobs in Maine, on the fishing industry. There's an element to this that really drives me crazy, because it is like choosing a down-home, stereotypical issue of Maine, saying you want to make it yours, while not actually doing the things you need to do to help those people.
100%.
Drives me insane.
No, you are so correct. And then if you compare it to the other answers from the other contestants, who their answers, one, were not about themselves. They always shined a light on their other contestants, the pageant being how grateful they were to be there with all these other women, supporting each other, blah, blah, blah. But then when they were talking about, because, every answer basically is spun to their canned answer that they had prepped before, whatever it is, they all were very personal, like intimately connected. I mean, I think about, we've talked about this before, but the young woman who won Miss Teen, Jasmine, she was telling the story about she had started this nonprofit. They were collecting shoes for foster children, I believe, because her sister is a foster child. And it felt really heartfelt and personal in a way that Jordon getting up there to just say kind of this canned statement about fishermen. And even though, yes, her parents had a boat, yes, okay, fine. It did not land.
No, it put Jordon's answer in, it sounded just much more cynical.
Yes.
Because, Jasmine, she said, my sister who was adopted through the foster system, she was sitting right in front of us. She was this cute little girl playing with Snapchat filters.
Very
she said,
cute.
We've collected 48 pairs of shoes and socks.
Yeah.
There was a real, and then this woman, Miss Bangor, Shelby, got up there and said, I am the daughter of a single mother. At one point, we lost our housing. I know what it's like to grow up with that insecurity. I want to go through. The question was, what is a good life? And she said, living the good life to me is helping people not give up and understand that they can have everything they need. Like helping people. It was such a radically different vibe.
Yes. To me, Jordon could have gotten up there and said something personal. Like, I think the question was, what was, this childhood memory? If she had just gone up there and said something personal, I don't think I would have left with such a sour taste in my mouth about her commentary at the end there. If she had just said something nice about her childhood and kind of gone more with the flow of the pageant, instead of using it as a moment to essentially say a PR statement for herself and using it as just furthering her own platform, I think it would have landed better.
I think so too. I also think, what have we said from the very beginning? She sounds like she is campaigning for something.
Yes.
And look, if you're in the pageant, you are campaigning.
Yeah.
You're campaigning to be Miss Maine, but you are also the women who made it very far. There was this sense of place and of connection to it, and of a true desire to use this platform, yes, to gain power, hopefully, and money for themselves, but also to try to give back.
Yes.
In some way. That Jordon, it just rung hollow. It rung like she was using this as one more chance. The fact she spoke to the live stream.
Yeah, which is just crazy.
It does.
I was shocked. I really thought she was going to get up there and just kind of do the answer that they all go, I'm really excited to be here, grateful for all the experiences I've gained in meeting all these contestants.
And look, it is a great cause to want to help the fishermen of Maine.
Yes.
I know many people who are in the fishing industry. I have done deep reporting on lobstering in Maine. People need to do something to ensure that industry does continue. There are a lot of very smart people and ecologists working on it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that she doesn't care or any of that isn't valid, but your actions have to match your words. And once again, she used this platform and this time to make the story about herself in a way that does her no favors.
Yeah.
And that sounds a little hypocritical.
Yeah, 100%.
So after that, we were like, she just the way that she was doing such a good job presenting herself did start to feel a little bit like, compared to some of these the like genuineness of some of these other women, I don't know.
I think after she said all that, we both were like, she's not gonna win. She wins this style award. We're like, I don't think she's gonna win. Cut to, they're announcing the winners. They're narrowing people down. Spoiler alert, Jordon Hudson does not win.
She gets second runner-up,
which is essentially
third place.
Last year, she got first runner-up.
And at this point, I was so invested. I didn't care about Jordon at this point.
No.
At this point, I was just like, who wins? It's definitely going to be between Miss Cumberland County and Miss Bangor.
Yes.
It was.
It was. We were right.
You, though, guessed that Shelby of Bangor would win.
Yeah, I thought so.
I said it was going to be Cumberland.
Yeah.
Shelby won.
Yeah.
And it was this really beautiful moment. And, something, too, that was interesting is looking at Jordon's face. She looked pissed.
She did not look happy. She wasn't rolling her eyes or anything, but compared to the other contestants, who maybe also were pissed they didn't win, she was showing it more than the other contestants, I would say.
And Miss Cumberland, who was the first runner-up, she was crying. And I get it. It's really difficult. But Jordon, there was this, like, steeliness to her, which is also fine if that's how you process emotion. It just all lined up with sort of the persona that she has presented publicly of this tough me against the world. Everyone's out to get me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that was the Miss Maine pageant.
That was the Miss Maine pageant. Bill was swept out of the room by Chad pretty much right away. Our guy, Chad. We stuck around for a little bit to just kind of observe what was happening in the room.
The most interesting part to me was Jordon kept looking for Bill in the audience. She was using her style award to sort of like shield herself from the lights, and she was looking for him. And we had seen him leave.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, he's not there. But I'm not going to tell Jordon that. And then I saw her ask someone, and there were a few girls who were coming up to her. She wasn't like a pariah.
No.
I want to make that clear.
No.
Like people were hugging her.
Yeah.
And this woman came up to her, and she said, I think she said, like, "Where's Bill?" Reading her lips because I wasn't close enough, and the woman pointed to the direction he'd left. So they didn't have a plan. Like Bill just like got up and booked it.
Yeah.
It seemed like they didn't have a plan of where to meet up.
Definitely didn't seem like they had a plan, but also I'm like, was Bill really going to stick around in a ballroom with a bunch of people getting close to the stage? I don't think so.
No. Then we see Chad sort of milling around. It seemed like he lost Jordon. He was calling her. He sort of, I don't know if he was calling her, but he was on the phone and sort of loops around.
Yeah.
And then I saw Chad and Jordon outside of the ballroom, and that was and then we left and we got some lunch.
And that was the conclusion of the 2025 Miss Maine pageant. I mean obviously, as you can tell by the end of it, I think we were like, it was a good thing Jordon didn't win. The other women certainly deserved to win more than she did. While she had a great performance and has incredible stage presence, she wasn't the person for the job.
No. And I think, too, it kind of helped us understand a little bit why we're all so fascinated by her.
Yeah.
Because she does have this magnetic quality.
Oh, yeah.
But it is also, there is like an edge to it that you can't figure her out really, and she keeps making these decisions that if you think you want to turn the heat down on yourself, you would kind of do the opposite of the things that she does.
Yeah.
Still, I commend her
Yes.
for how well she did. I commend her for showing up and doing it anyway, because it's clearly something she cared about.
Yeah.
My question to you is, do you think she hasn't posted anything on social media, which Terry, the woman from the bar, said that she thought the Miss USA Clemente organization had said to Jordon, don't say anything. We had thought maybe UNC got to her.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason, do you think we will start hearing from her more on social media now that this is over?
Yes, I think so. I think she might not go back to posting as usual, but she's certainly gotten over the hump of the biggest event, which was this pageant for her. And now it's summer. There's no football happening. Like, she can do what she wants, hide out in Cape Cod or Nantucket or wherever her and Bill are going to hang this summer.
Yeah.
I think she'll post, but I don't think it will be at the cadence that we had before.
I do wonder if she will use this to say, like, this is proof that the media is out to get me. Like, the media is the reason I didn't win. When we were there, it wasn't like she won by a landslide and they just didn't give it to her.
No.
Shelby, Miss Bangor, and Miss Cumberland did put on incredible performances.
Yeah.
Nobody took that away from Jordon.
No.
Jordon lost that for herself.
She lost that for herself, for sure. Yeah.
And I think it's just important to have that out there.
Yeah.
Also, just, this has been one of my favorite things to do is to go to something that I don't know much about and try to listen and learn. And it has been so much fun doing that with you for this.
Same.
The curiosity of what this was going to be. And I'm leaving with like a real respect for people who choose to put themselves out there like this.
Yeah. It's a hard job and they killed it.
Also, again, like, this wouldn't be a huge deal if Bill were retired.
No, for sure not.
But
no.
But he's not.
He's not. And as we said on CNN and a million times, this impacts other people.
Yeah.
And his actions impact other people.
And, you know, if she had won this would have taken a lot of resources away from somebody in May. It's like, interesting choice to still go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really, congrats to Shelby, congrats to Jasmine, Miss Teen.
Yeah. Everyone did a great job.
I also really like going to pageants.
Oh my God. I was like, I want to like bet on these, like, who's going to win?
I would go to a pageant to that was electric.
I kind of feel like we should maybe go to Miss USA now just for funsies.
Twist my arm. We'll cheer on Miss Maine.
Incredible. Well, I'm exhausted, honestly. We'll be back with regularly scheduled programming on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for listening and liking and subscribing, rating and reviewing our podcast. It really makes a huge difference. And we hope you stuck around until the end of this analysis because, it was a journey to get here.
And it's been a privilege to do it with you, Madeline.
Oh, same.
It's been a privilege to have people listen to any of what we say, and hopefully we've been able to bring any amount of perspective to what's going on.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
See you on the flip.
Bye.
Bye.